If you all can see that, that says Hilton Garden Inn. If you guys are trying to drive through Wyoming, you are going to have to stay the night at this Hilton in Casper because it is the only place that has a charger in the middle of Wyoming.
Road trip number 5. During my last road trip, while we stopped at a Tesla dealer, I heard somebody come in and say, how long does it take to charge? I get sick of this question. Every time somebody says, how long does it take to charge? And it's really a valid question, but I really think people aren't thinking about the whole problem in the correct paradigm. And I guess it's logical because in a gas-powered car, you drive until it's empty or close to empty, and then you go fill it. And I think for the average person, they're thinking in that same paradigm. You drive till it's empty, and then you go and grab your charger and fill it up. But that's not really how it works. Really, the way it works is every day when you get home, you plug it in, and you charge for what you use that day. So some days when I plug in my car, I only charge for 5 minutes. Yesterday, I think I charged, day before yesterday, I think I charged for like 20 minutes. Yesterday I drove all over the place and I charged for maybe 3 or 4 hours. But generally I think a lot of times I probably only charge for 5 minutes a day. But it really boils down to how much do you drive. Imagine for a second that your car has a magic fairy that fills it up with gas every night while you're sleeping. If that was the case, how many times would you fill up your car? The answer is 0. You would never fill up your car because no day would you drive more than 300 miles. So every day you'd come back as full and you wouldn't need to charge again. That's how it works with an electric car. You plug it in, and depending on how much you charge is how many hours electricity is flowing through this. But generally, you don't go anywhere else to charge unless you're doing a road trip, which is what we're going to be doing here in another hour or so. So hopefully that makes sense. In fact, I had done a special while on my last trip where I went to a swimming pool and I asked the maintenance guy, how long does it take to fill this pool? He said, I don't know, I've never emptied it all the way. And really that's the response for a lot of electric car drivers. I don't know, I haven't really emptied it all the way. And usually if you really do, you're going to a supercharger because you're on a road trip. And those, generally you only charge for about 25 minutes. Average road trip, I stop, get a burger, take a leak, get back in the car, and I'm good to go again. And so usually about a 25-minute charge. If you really were at 0 and you really want to charge to 100%, it would be over an hour, just a little bit over an hour out of supercharger. But the last 20% of a battery takes a long time to charge. And there's really no need. And you really rarely like to go below 20%. So really you're sitting between 20 and 80%, and that takes 25 minutes to charge. It's not that bad. I thought I'd spend a little bit of time with you going over connectors, because there's a lot of confusion about all of the types of connectors there are. First, let's talk about AC charging, alternating current, what you have in your house. There are really only 2 types of connectors out there in the world. There is this one. I don't know if you can see that. I'll post a picture, right about here, I'll post a picture of what this looks like. This is a standard connector. Every car in the world uses this AC connector. It can carry 100 volts from Japan, it can carry 110 from the United States, it can carry 208 from the United States from a 3-phase power box, it can carry 240 from the United States from a single-phase power box like what you have in your home, like what your dryer uses. It can also carry 230 volts if you are overseas. So this can carry a whole bunch of voltages. The electricity that goes into your car is really no different than what's just coming out of your house. There's a little bit of communication that goes between your car and your charge controller, and when everybody's agreed that it's okay, it turns on the relay and it starts charging. To make it simple, that's roughly about it. There's a little bit more that happens inside the car, but that's not really important. This is the other type of connector. This is a Tesla style connector. And I'll post an image up here, but a Tesla style connector still talks the same protocol as this generic connector. So Tesla gives you a little converter that you can put on your charger, or you can buy a Tesla charger. There's no really advantage from one to the other. I like mine because it's open source and internet connected. But really the problem starts to get confusing when you're dealing with the plethora of plugs we have in the United States. But let me set this down and I will show you some of the things I carry with me on road trips. And the reason it's for road trips is I don't really know what I'm going to run into. I don't know. I could be at an RV park. I've never done that before. Usually it's superchargers. But sometimes it is going to my sister's house. Going to my sister's house, I plugged into their dryer. This last trip, when I went to the timeshare, I plugged into their dryer. And their dryer was from the 1970s, and so it was a different plug than what dryers use today. Dryers today use a 4-prong plug, and back in the 70s they used a 3-prong plug. And I couldn't directly plug into it, so I went to Home Depot and I built myself a converter. So here in the front of my car, I keep a whole bunch of charging stuff. And in fact, before I forget, let's take my adapter here. I have right here. Take it off, and I'm going to put it in the bag that Tesla gave me so that I don't lose it. And now if I plug into a standard connector on my trip, I can. So there's that bag. You can see it's a little disorganized from my last trip. Oh, this is, sorry about that, this is the free charge controller that comes with your Tesla. Has that Tesla tip, again on here, the tip of this looks identical to what a supercharger does. What the type of electricity is not, but the plug is. You don't really need to worry about that, but this is the Tesla. On this side, Tesla has their communication controller with a relay in there. And then here, they allow you to put a whole bunch of different plugs. This is a 110 volt plug. Tesla is very good at figuring out how long the cable is after this point. And by doing that, they can figure out how many amps they can pull. So this thing will pull, with this plug on it, it knows it's 110, 115, 120 volts, depending how you measure voltage here in the United States. But it generally will pull 12 amps. Now if I put let me show you, my green extension cord, I carry a Christmas light extension cord right here. There's nothing fancy about this, just a standard extension cord. Now as soon as I plug that onto the end of this, all of a sudden the computer inside is going to know pulling 12 amps might be too much for this extension cord, and it drops down to 8 amps. Now, for those of you who are thinking at home you want to just charge with 110, that's a bad idea. This thing charges at 4 miles per hour. If you put that on there, it could go as low as 2 miles per hour. While you're sleeping, you get 20 miles. And if all you do is go to the grocery store with this thing, that might be okay. But generally, that's not enough. Now, like I said, these ends pop off. So if I pop that end off and pop this one on, this is a 4-prong, 250 volt stove plug. I'll again put a picture here. Here's the things you need to remember. It's got a round ground plug. That means it's 50 amps, 240 volts. Now if this was an L-shaped, that would mean 30 amps. The fact that it's got 4 prongs means it's got a neutral wire here too. So it's got leg 1, leg 2, a neutral, and ground. So Tesla gives you these 2 adapters that go on here, the 110 and the 240, and then they also give you the adapter that goes on the other side so that you can use a standard connector. Now, I carry a few other things here with me. This is a DIY converter. Now, this has 3 plugs on it. 1, 2, 3. These 2 are at 45. And this one's an L shape. That L shape means this is a 30 amp plug. So this is what your dryers in the 70s would have used to plug into the wall. So 30 amps, and then over here I've got a female modern 50 amp stove plug. In fact, these things are sold at Home Depot so that you lay them on the floor and your stove can plug into it. Now, if you were to actually plug your stove through this, you would probably pop a circuit breaker or catch something on fire, because this says it can use 50 amps, this says it can use 30 amps. That's a no-go. Again, Tesla is really smart. You can go in there and manually say, don't pull more than this many amps. I've generally found they figured it out on their own by the time I get to the keyboard. And so it'll usually pull about 28 amps out of this 30 amp plug. So really intelligent. I think what they do is they quickly pull a load and see how far the voltage drops, and then they can figure out how much resistance is in the length of cable. And then I also carry, this is another DIY, exact same deal. This is a modern 4-plug dryer plug. So this is an L shape here at the bottom, which implies that it's 30 amps. We've got leg 1, leg 2, and we've got ground. This is very modern, but it's 30 amps. And again, I've gone to a 50 amp stove plug here so that I can plug, here it is, this right in. So I can plug that in. Again, it was smart enough to know not to pull more than 30 amps. In fact, it always pulled 28. I also bought a 50 amp 240 volt extension cable. I think this is like maybe 15 foot long, thick as all get out, heavy as all get out, awkward to carry. This was, again, going to my sister's house, so I plugged this, I plugged this into her wall behind her dryer, which went 30 amp to 50, and that got me out about 4 foot. And then this 15 foot, 50 amp to 50 amp, got me out into the garage. And then I plugged in this to get to my car. And again, my car was very smart. It realized I plugged in a whole bunch of extra wires, and it dropped my amperage down. I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was something low. I think it was 20 amps or something like that. It knew that I had a lot of stuff daisy chained together, and it pulled very few amps. And so I charged at half the speed I charge at home. At home, with this plug charges at 40 amps, and I get the full 40 amps, and I'm cooking. I'm charging about 30 miles per hour, which means 300 miles per night I can charge. And that assumes I only sleep 10 hours. I'll probably eat dinner, shower, everything else. It'd be easy to charge a car, even if you had a 100D. The Tesla 100D, charge that in one night, no problem. Now, all of these charging options I showed you are AC. AC charging is really meant for overnight. Maybe going swimming, but it's not for dinner. If you're gonna eat dinner for half hour to an hour, you're only gonna get 20 miles of range. So that's really not adequate. And so a Tesla supercharger actually delivers 500 volts DC electricity, and it will deliver more power to your car than 2 of your neighbors' houses get if they were completely maxed out with everything in the house completely turned on. So if you had 200 amp service in a house and you had 2 houses, that's how much electricity a supercharger delivers. It delivers a lot. And the newer superchargers that they're going to come out with actually deliver as much electricity as an entire Costco superstore gets at one point in time. So there's a lot of electricity, and it's all DC electric. The chargers are like $100,000. That's why Tesla is the only person that's building them right now. There are other DC fast chargers like CHAdeMO, which is a Japanese type charger. It's not nearly as fast as a supercharger. There's also CCS, which is the American automakers plus the European automakers came together for that standard. Great standard. You see very few of them. And in both those cases, because those chargers are put out there by for-profit corporations, they tend to put them in big cities, hoping to get as many customers as possible to pay them off. However, when you're in road trips, you're going to be in no-name cities. And so for me, buying a Tesla is the only way to go, because Tesla provides superchargers out in the middle of nowhere. So hopefully this was a good example of everything you need to know about charging. I don't think a lot of you need the adapters and stuff that I do. I just really wanted to do road tripping. That was my thing. And I wanted to be able to take any kind of electricity I could get my hands on. So I put it all up here where I can't hear it. I've got adapters. I've got everything I need to hook into any type of electricity I come across. And I figure, I might find electricity in a kitchen of an Airbnb and want to plug into the stove, and so I got the extension cable. I might go run it out a window and charge up. I don't know if the Airbnb owner will be happy about that, but I put the place back together so they wouldn't know. And in terms of cost, what does it cost to charge something like this? Most people don't know what they pay in electricity. Electricity in most parts of Colorado is 12 cents per kilowatt hour. In Hawaii, it was like 34 cents. I think in California, it's like 20 cents. Here in Longmont, we pay 7 cents. I mean, record lows for what electricity costs. Well, this takes 90 kilowatt hours. But if you presumed it was completely empty and it was 100, let's say this was a Tesla 100D, then you can just move that up. That'd be a $7 charge. Most people don't charge that much, and so for those of you looking that have a hotel, tell the hotels Tesla will give you 2 free destination chargers, free. And for somebody to sit at the hotel charge, probably that first night they might eat up $5 worth of electricity. And if they continue to stay at your hotel, the following days they probably won't come home empty, and they might burn through $1 or $2 a day. And the hotel may spend more money on the continental breakfast in the morning than they actually spend on electricity. And I think hotels are going to be the one industry that's really going to have to change. I think the fuel companies are going to go out of business, the Amecos of the world. And I think hotels are going to need to add chargers. The infrastructure actually doesn't have to change that much. Maybe not at all. However, those two industries are going to have drastic changes. Well, I hope you found this helpful. I'll add some more links and pictures so that you can try to figure it out. And if you have any questions, put it in the comments below. Please subscribe and like, and please also give me other questions you'd like me to cover about what it's like owning a Tesla, what it's like owning an electric car. This is my second electric car. My first one was a Nissan Leaf. I loved my Nissan Leaf. It could not do road trips, which is what I was interested in. But ask me anything you want, and I'll see if I can answer it. Alright, we just got done eating at Five Guys. You might be able to see it right there, not really. But these chargers here in Casper, Wyoming are blazing fast. Amazing. Alright, we are going to go to Casper and we're going to stay at the Hilton Garden Inn.
I am at the Hilton in Casper, Wyoming. I've got the car packed up. We're ready to head home. We spent 2 days here. We mostly came here for a family reunion of sorts. You can see, let's see if I get the sign. Wow, there it is. It is the only charger right now in the middle of Wyoming. So you have to stay here at the Hilton or else you don't charge. So we've stayed here 2 nights. It really hit me in this trip how hard it is to travel in Wyoming because of the lack of chargers. You know, the cities are so far apart, and Wyoming's almost like a metropolis of sorts in that people go long distances to see each other. And every place is a small town and none of them have any chargers. So I think it's one of those places really that's going to have to be tackled with lots of superchargers compared to their population for it to become electric. But we had a good trip. I spent a lot of time talking on this trip about how to charge. Here behind me, see if I get it. There you go. You got, it's actually 3 chargers. You can only see 2 here, but this is a Tesla high power charger. There is a standard 1772. It is actually broken, this 1772. I'm not sure how that happened since nobody's gonna get here with a Nissan Leaf, but there's the connector for a 1772. It's identical in terms of electricity and signaling to what happens with a Tesla charger. There you go. Just a different interface, same controller underneath. But I'm gonna go pick up my family. We're gonna head home. I hope you got something out of this video. I hope the charging information was interesting. But we're gonna go home. Thanks. All right, I was not planning on going 4-wheel driving in my Tesla. We were trying to go to the Natural Bridge, which is a beautiful spot here in Wyoming. I've been to it before. And they have torn this road up to like nobody's business. You know, getting stuck isn't a problem with having 4-wheel drive, but I am dragging the dirt. And so we are turning around and getting back to the highway.